Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Rachel. You know, we have a world-class musician in Rachel, so it is a joy every Sunday to have her here. And today she's got her beautiful granddaughter Mercy with her. Yes, and Russ, it was so nice to hear you sing this morning. Nancy, you finished your class, which I heard was wonderful. And Reverend Doug, what more can I say? You are brilliant, you're elegant, you've got the best sense of humor, and you've brought such joy to my life. I'm very grateful. Yes. And Sandra, when Sandra wasn't here this morning, I almost had a heart attack. And you think I'm kidding, but I'm not, because she does so much here. Sharon and Rick, I'm so glad to see you. LD, always a pleasure. He steps out of Esquire in case anybody has not noticed the way he dressed. And for everybody new here this morning, I'm so glad. And Diamond, your enthusiasm with your singing was a joy to see. It truly was. So again, good morning. What a beautiful day that God has made. Here, isn't that the truth? We are here to rejoice and to celebrate. So I always start with a little joke. You up for that? Okay, so there was two friends from the time they were little all the way till they were older, you know, probably 40, about my age. A little older maybe. Anyway, they loved baseball. And as they got older, the conversation started to drift. Well, if we die and go to heaven, do you think there's baseball? Well, this conversation went back and forth. So they decided the first one that died would come back just for the moment to tell the other one if there was baseball or not in heaven. So surely one of them died, came back, and his friend said, okay, tell me, is there baseball in heaven? And the man said, his friend said, I've got good news and I've got bad news. He said, the good news is there is baseball in heaven, alive and well. And his friend said, and the bad news? He said, you're up to bat on Wednesday. Not good news, is it? Not the news he was expecting. Anyway, our title this morning is Loving Life. And isn't this the best time to love life? New growth, new foliage, spring. It takes my breath away sometimes. I was driving down one of our streets this morning, a side street, and it was like this beautiful, I don't know what you would call it, canopy of new growth and greenery. God is everywhere present. My mother-in-law one time said, God must love the color green because there's green everywhere, all kinds of shades. So in Charles Fillmore, who was the co-founder of Unity, and you're in a Unity church today, which believes that anything is possible for any of us. We don't believe in some God out there judging us that's like Santa Claus. We believe God is good. And we believe that God moves and lives and has its being as each and every one of us. And giving us the opportunity and the impetus to let that God light shine, because that's what we're here for. You see, if we don't shine that light of God, who shines it? Where does it go? Then we've got some God in the sky. No, God works through you and through me in the most magnificent ways. Whether it's volunteering, no matter what we do, teaching, nursing, doctors, accountants, housewives. You know, one time Dr. Martin Luther King said, if you're a street sweeper, then you be the best street sweeper there's ever been. Let God move through you in whatever you are doing, which means underneath what we are doing is the quality of God. It could be joy, grace, mercy, compassion, but always underneath what we're doing, there's a higher calling. Just what Reverend Doug and I were talking about today. Moving to that higher ground. Yes, this might be my vocation, or maybe we could say avocation. My vocation in life is to express the glory, the light, the grace of God, as only each one of us can do that. So Charles Fillmore instigated 12 powers. We have our 5 unity principles. Excuse me. But Charles Fillmore also talked about 12 powers. And he believed these powers were innate within every one of us. We all have them. And he believed that with these 12 powers, that we could create the life that we wanted to live, that we envision to live, that we truly have these powers within us that enable us, if we're willing to aliven them, to live the life that we were meant to live. And one of the powers was the power of life. And I love that, because often when I pray, I think, yes, God is everywhere present, but God is life itself with a capital L. We are all living life, but God is the overview of all life. God is life itself, and he invites you and he invites me into that larger life with him all the time. You know, it's come, be more, be all that you can be. Life needs you and life needs me. Just turn on the news, just what Reverend Doug was talking about. And you'll see how much we are needed to express life on a higher ground. Because if we get sunk into whatever's going on in the news, whatever, we're sunk. But that's not what we're here to do. We are here to live life with a capital L. So the first point I'd like to make is, do we know why we're alive? You know, for so many years, I had no idea. I had a husband, I had 3 beautiful children, I had a lovely life, and I remember, we were members of St. Michael's at the time over on Douglas, and I remember sitting in the chapel, and I couldn't stop the tears. They just kept rolling down my face because I was so empty inside. And I thought, why? I've got everything that one could ask for, a loving husband, until he met Coco and left everybody. But at the time, I didn't know that at the time. I had a loving husband and 3 children, a lovely home, and I was so empty. It ached, it hurt, the emptiness. I could feel this hole. And then I moved to California after my children were grown. I took a position out there. And a friend of mine, Roger Teal, kept saying, you know, you really should try to go to Agape and hear Reverend Michael Beckwith. Well, that went on for 2 years. And finally, one Sunday morning, my daughter and I went to hear him. And the song that they sang was, "Do You Know Why You're Alive?" And I thought, why am I alive? Our love for God is ever so true, the song went. I discovered that God loves me and needs me too, and that never had occurred to me. How could this great God in the universe need me? You know, that was empty inside, and yet something enlivened with me, that God needed me, that, you know, my love for God was ever so true. I discovered that God loves me, and needs me too, because that's how God expresses through you and through me. You know, the great theologian Martin Buber tells a story of a rabbi named Zusha. And Zusha was always concerned that he was not living his authentic life. And one day he was musing and he said, you know, when I die, if people ask me, were you Moses? He said, well, I know the answer to that. Of course I wasn't Moses. But when they ask me, or if they ask me, were you Zusha? He said, I don't know that I have the answer to that. So each one of us are here to whatever our name is, to Sharon, to Rick, to Diamond, to Kat, whoever. It is here that we are here to be authentic. And that's not a calling card consciousness. That is to be the authentic you and me that have been called from all eternity. You know, philosophers, physicists now, say the idea of us taking an incarnation in this lifetime is absolutely so remote. I mean, it's millions to one that we are here. And we don't come into this lifetime, like Peggy Lee said, and live and then we die. Remember that awful saying she had? But we are here to live life, to love life, because God is life itself. And God has selected each one of us because we come in with a purpose. Now, we may think it's to be a teacher or whatever it is. Yes, of course, a mother, a father. But underneath that, we are here to express something magnificent. We are here to express love and compassion and grace and all the wonderful qualities that God is. We are simply here for God, and that is the truth. We have our vocation, but underneath that all, the authentic. Will they when they ask if I was Zusha, what will I say? When they ask if I was Barbara, well, I can say this and I can say that. But underneath, was I authentic? Was I an authentic representation of the grace and the love of God to all that I meet? You know, there's the old story about after World War II. There was a small town in France, and the GIs were there to restore as much as they could at the time of all of the churches, the cathedrals that were just torn apart, all these magnificent buildings and cathedrals. And one of the cathedrals they went into, they were restoring. And there was a statue of Jesus they found on the rubble of the floor. And so they decided, the GIs picked it up in great reverence. They decided to restore it. And so they repainted it and they put it up. But they couldn't find Jesus' hands in the rubble. They searched and they searched. And then they got a call, it was time to leave, time to go back to America. So what one of the soldiers did is he hung a sign, and it's been there since World War II, on the arms of Jesus, and said, now you must be my hands as you go through life. You must be my hands. And that's the call for you and me. We must be the very hands of Jesus, because he showed us the way, didn't he? So our call is always, yes, here's my calling card. No, unless it says, here's my calling card, I am here for God. Well, that'll drive everybody right away. So we may not want to put, that could be on the back of our card. And the second thing I'd like to say is 212 degrees. You know, at 211 degrees, water is hot, right? But at 212 degrees, water starts to boil. And when it boils, it lets off steam. And steam is so powerful that steam can actually power a locomotive. And so many times we stop at 211 when we're just hot. And all we have is to give that extra push, that extra yes. And that's the one word the universe loves, is yes. Yes, I will. Yes, I can. I am willing. Yes. Because when we say that yes, it is a reciprocal universe, and the universe will automatically say yes to us. Maybe not shouting it out loud, but all of a sudden things start to fall into place because of our holy yes. I've told the story of Saint Michael. Well, he's not quite there yet. Reverend Michael Beckwith, that I did. I'll have to write him and tell him I've now elevated him to sainthood. Anyway, he was working for Mayor Bradley, at Mayor Bradley's office, who was the mayor of LA for many years. And he was doing well. Michael's father was a judge. And he got very interested in metaphysics and started studying. And he and a dear friend of his, a childhood friend, Nirvana Gale, they started doing workshops all up and down California. They became known for the beautiful workshops they were doing, and then Michael went into the prayer ministry and was leading that. Went to ministerial school, following a calling, even though he had a good career, he had a wife, he had a child. And he was The Fullerton Church in Fullerton, California, was looking for a minister. And it's a beautiful church, and it had a large congregation. So Reverend Michael went and tried out for it. And of course, if you've ever heard him speak or read anything, he's magnificent. He's truly a living day mystic. Well, the church loved him. So they called him back. They called 3 of their candidates back. And by far, Reverend Michael got the most votes. The congregation loved him. They were on their feet for an ovation. His father was sitting there. And the president of the board called him in, and he said, Michael, we love you here. They love you here. And he said, but I want you to know I will never have a black man as a minister here. Can I just get the chills? I've never told that story without it. Michael was crushed. On his way home, he was thinking, I'm out. I'm not going to do this. I've got a good job. I'm going back to that. And then all of a sudden, you see, he was at that 211 degrees. He could have gone either way. He would have continued with hot water, done whatever he wanted to do. Or he could take it to a boiling point, something different. And something on the way, as he was driving, said, Michael, start your own church. Well, of course, he went, that's a big deal to start your own church. He started that church with 7 people in his home. He has thousands of people in his ministry. He speaks every year to the United Nations to kick off the season for nonviolence. He went from 211 degrees that said, I'm done, I'm out, I'll go work. And he went to that extra degree, that steam that started a whole different movement of thousands of people. And he could have stopped, but he didn't. So is there a place in our life where we're just at 211 degrees, we get discouraged and think, oh, to heck with it. Somebody has refused me, or the job I wanted, I wasn't, whatever. Or I hear women that are on one of the dating services, oh, I've had bad dates, I'm never doing that again. Well, go to a church, do something different, but don't stop at 211 degrees. We are called in this faith, especially in this spiritual, I want to say religion, but we're spiritual teaching, to actually go to that 200. We're called to excellence because we are here for God. There was a story of a man by the name of Clarence Henderson, and he served 27 years for a murder that he did not commit. And there was a practitioner at Agape, she's still there, he was her nephew, and she believed in Clarence, and she never stopped praying for him. Every Sunday, every practitioner meeting, she didn't stop at 211 degrees. Well, maybe this, that. She kept that steam going until the Project for Innocence took his case, and after 27 years, he was released from prison. But she never stopped at just, well, maybe he will. She kept that steam rolling until something different. And his name was Clarence Henderson. And he got up and he spoke at Agape one Sunday. And he said, all I can say is to God be the glory. Because otherwise, I would still be in prison. So you see, we don't give up. They said that, Edison, 2,000 inventions failed before he finally invented the telephone? So we never give up. We can be right at that steam, or that, the hot, something hot, but we're called to go to that boiling point, that steam that is going to propel us into something bigger, the promotion that we might decide, well, somebody better, No, don't stop. Keep going, because that's the call for you and for me. Life is calling now. Shedeur Sanders, I don't know, I follow football. I don't know if anybody else does. Oh, good, Nancy does, Russ does. Anyway, he was quarterback at the University of Colorado. His father, Deion Sanders, I believe, played for the Cowboys for years. Anyway, he was one of the top-rated quarterbacks. So when the draft came Thursday night, they thought he'd go first round. He didn't. They thought he'd go second round. He didn't. They thought he'd go third round. He didn't. Well, people were just amazed. What in the world? They've got this marvelous quarterback. And what he kept saying was, I've got faith. It'll work out the way it's supposed to work out. He didn't give up. He kept going with that boiling point. Something good is going to happen here. And he was finally drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And again, he said, this is God's work working through me. I never lost faith. Because at that 211 degrees, where it was just hot water, he could have said, to heck with this whole thing. You know, who needs it? Because his ego had to be a little deflated when he was expected to be a first round. But he kept going. So our message is, don't stop when the water's boiling. Keep going. When the water's hot, let it go to that steaming point where you're absolutely impelled. Because you know what? God is the wing beneath each one of our sails. And Jesus said many times, 27 different times, with God it's possible. With God it's possible. So the last point is, Wayne Dyer said, don't believe everything you think. Ha! Anybody ever know anything about that? What do our thoughts tell us? Well, you're not quite good enough. You're not tall enough. You don't have enough hair. You have too much hair. You're too thin. You're too fat. It can go on forever, can't it? It can go on forever. When we look at the Fillmores, the co-founders of Unity, my goodness, she was desperately ill with tuberculosis, which was a death sentence in the 1920s. You didn't recover from that. He was lame, one leg shorter than another. Their thoughts could have said, what good is this? I'm probably going to die. He could hardly even walk. He had a huge limp. But it didn't stop them. Their thoughts didn't stop them. They had a higher thought. You know, they saw a bigger picture of life. And that's what you and I are here for, to see this big picture of life itself, not the life that we are living right now. We have to live that life. But remember, there is a big life, a life that we're here to love, to live. And that life is within each and every one of us, constantly calling us forth, stepping out of our comfort zone. You know, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah, and Bill Gates never had college degrees. None of them. Oprah finally went back when she was in her 30s and finished up her college degree. How many people I've heard say, I don't have a college degree, I can't apply for that. And yet it doesn't matter. We do it anyway. We feel the fear and we do it anyway. Jobs was fired. Did you know Steve Jobs was fired? And can you imagine that, being fired from a company that you started? Well, that could have gone someplace in an island never to be seen before. And yet he didn't. He went on and he bought something from Lucas. He started Pixar, and it was Toy Story. He made more money with that than he ever made with Apple. He went back to Apple, and then the team of them started the iPhone, the iPad. But it didn't stop him. He could have stopped at that 211 degrees and said, that's it, I'm out. But he went ahead, he believed in himself, and he went to that 212 degrees where he absolutely had the steam behind him. So what does that mean to you and to me? He said when he went back to Apple, they had a saying, and it was, think different. And isn't that for all of us, to think different? You know, just real quickly, my own story. Oh, I've got so many to tell you. I could keep you laughing for the next 20 years. Anyway, I was in ministerial school, and 3-year ministerial program. And I went through 2 years. I loved it. I loved studying theology and philosophy. I walked into my junior year, my last year, and they were showing us the itinerary or the agenda. And one of them said homiletics, which is the art of giving a sermon. And I thought, I didn't sign up to give any sermon. I can't do that. I can't public speak. I thought, I'm quitting, period. That was it. So at break time, everybody went in the break room. I went into my car, I had my keys out, and I thought, there's just no way I can do this. No way. It terrifies me. But something inside of me, you know, Nike at that time had the saying, just do it. Something inside of me said, just do it. And I can't tell you the fear I was in the first few times I spoke. My legs shook so badly I had to hang on to something. My hands, I thought everybody could see my heartbeat. But yet, if I would have stayed at that 211 degrees and said, no, can't do it, what I would have missed. I would have missed being here. I would have missed seeing you all. I would have missed so much in my career. So don't let fear stop you. You know, don't be content. Well, I'm just hot water. I'm hot stuff. We'll just say we're hot stuff. But we're here to be more than hot stuff. We are here to be that boiling point. We are here to be the steam that starts the engine, because each one of us are called to greatness. Each one of us are called to life itself, which is always saying to you and to me, come, come, be more. I am always with you. All things are possible with me. And I'd just like to end up with just a quick, I've just got another 2 hours to speak, so I hope you're relaxed. Everybody's relaxed. Anyway, this was written by a man his name was William Penn. He was a Quaker. He wrote this in 1682. He said, I expect to pass through life once, if thereby any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being. Let me do it now, and not delay or neglect, as I shall not pass this way again. Excuse me. The cough isn't part of the sermon. So anyway, as we leave here today, love life. Not only love your life, because it's a gift, but love life itself that is always calling us to be more, to love more, to give more of ourselves. Life is a marvelous thing. We're here to love. We're in the best faith, the best spiritual teaching possible. So I love you all. Happy day. Love life. It's a wonderful life. God bless you.